One of the worst things that we have to do as managers or business owners is terminate employees' employment. It's never pleasant, and that feeling can only be made worse if you anticipate it becoming a toxic termination. By toxic termination, generally we mean where you anticipate the employee becoming particularly upset or aggravated, or the impact it could have on their colleagues, because you know it's going to have a big impact on the rest of the team. So what I want to talk about today is how we can deal with that. And as always, prevention is better than cure. So think about how you can avoid creating that toxic situation. Build the relationship with the individual, treat them like a human, and no matter how much they frustrated you, don't let that show, because as soon as you do, it's going to escalate that situation. Think about the language that you use, but more so think about your body language and the tone that you use, because you say so much more through your body language and the tone than the actual words that you choose. And it's really important that that's maintained right through the whole process leading up to the termination, not just the hearing. Think about making sure they feel like you're working with them rather than against them, and it's going to be more effective. They want to feel like they've had a fair hearing, not just receive a fair hearing. There's a great quote, my favourite quote ever. People won't remember what you say, they won't remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And if you can make them feel like they've been treated right and listened to, it's going to go much easier throughout the whole thing. So preparing for the actual meeting, think carefully about where you're going to have the meeting first of all. Obviously it's going to be private. You may have the luxury of multiple choices of locations. Try and pick the location to be nearest the exit to the building, so you don't have to escort them through the building, which is a horrible walk, and especially not past their colleagues. Try and avoid offices that are right next to the team they work with, because everybody will be watching them, and that's only going to increase the toxicity. Also have a think about the seating in the room that you're going to do it, and think about the individual reactions of that employee. If someone's particularly anxious and they tend to be quite flighty, put them where they can see their exit nice and clear. They can get out easily. You're not blocking it, because if you block it, you might be part of the problem and you might become collateral damage. If you're worried about them turning angry or violent, place yourself nearest the door, because you have an easy escape route. In fact, if you're worried about them being violent, then consider, should you even be doing it face to face? Should you do it over the phone or via video conferencing or some other remote means, so that you don't put yourself at that risk? Think about who's in that meeting with you, because you don't just need a note taker, you need someone with you who is not going to aggravate the situation. They're going to help calm it down, and they're going to be a voice of reason if things get a bit heated, and they're going to be really influential. So avoid that person that you know flares up straight away, because they probably won't help you. When you get to the actual meeting, remember all that bit around how you communicate and what you come across as, and giving people that chance to be heard and they feel like they've been heard and treated fairly. If during the meeting they're still toxic and they're still angry or aggravated, which is natural, you are threatening their job, you're threatening their livelihood, no matter what culpability they have, and sometimes it's not their fault at all. It could be a redundancy situation. So remember that, and like any customer service training would give you, if someone is being confrontational, the worst thing that you can do is be confrontational back. So just try and keep a lid on it, contain whatever you're feeling, and just come across as professional and caring. If they do start to get aggravated in the meeting, call an adjournment. Take some time out, let everyone cool down, and resume the meeting. If you think this is going to be a recurring theme, make it clear to them that if they continue to get aggravated and act unprofessionally or upset, then it may be that we have to adjourn the meeting and hold it in their absence and make a decision based on everything that you've already got, and therefore you may miss something. So if they can stay, we can have a professional conversation, then you'll be able to get more input into that decision making, so it's better for them. But remember, you can take as many adjournments as you need, and if the meeting is inoperable because of that level of toxicity in the room, then just conclude the meeting, adjourn it, and deliver the decision later. Think about how you deal with any representative they bring with them as well. Sometimes it's not the colleague, it's the person they brought with them that is creating the toxic environment, and the same situation. Use adjournments, control that representative of theirs, explain to them the impact they're having, ask them to modify that behaviour, and if they don't repeatedly, then again you can adjourn that meeting and either ask that person to leave and continue without them, or to close the meeting and hold it in their absence. After the meeting and you've terminated that employee, you've got two different things that can happen. There may be toxicity left in the office as people are frustrated or annoyed that you've terminated their colleague is gone that they've worked with for the last 10 years. It might be that they were a negative influence in the team and that's left behind. So there's various different things that you can do. Talk to your team members. Give them that proverbial cuddle, make them feel loved, make them feel special. You might want to think about some team building activities. You might want to think about how you can bring them back together. Involve other colleagues in that as well, the senior and responsible members of staff, to keep an eye open and make you aware of any problems that are brewing so you can nip them in the bud. Nowadays as well, you may find that the toxicity spills over into social media, in particular Glassdoor, which is the TripAdvisor for employers if you're not familiar with it. And disgruntled employees will often leave a scathing review of your business on Glassdoor. And there's a couple of things that you can do with that. Number one, you can go back to Glassdoor and report them if you believe that there are lies in there, and they will potentially remove it. If it's not lies, it's just a bad review, my recommendation would be that you actually respond to that review online and that you try and turn some of those negatives into positives. You don't go back on a battle foot and have a go at them back for what they've said, but actually deal with it in a positive manner. So for instance, if they've bemoaned the fact that they're busy and they had to work hard and they had demanding customers, flip that round to, you know, we're fast-paced, growing business with highly demanding customers, and that's not for the faint-hearted. Lots of people love that environment, and it's turned it around to being a positive, because your customers and your future employees will be reading that site, so it's important that you get your point across in the right way. And my final top tip to reduce the toxicity, it won't remove it, but it can reduce it, is to try and keep your whole process, whether it's redundancy, whether it's disciplinary, whatever, probation, termination, keep the process as short as you can and as fair as you can. The longer it takes, the more impact it's going to have.